Hey YouTube, this is Southern Purple One. I want to talk about a subject, and what I'll be telling you, there's nothing classified in here, and you might say, Dave, why are you trying to give the bad guys information? The bad guys have this information. This is nothing new. This is asymmetrical warfare. I'm giving them nothing. They could probably teach us a few things, but I want to talk about some things that I'm concerned about that could be crippling to our economy. Now, some might say, well, this could be a false flag. Someone could do it to try to take more control of our lives. A terrorist organization could do it. The Russians, the Chinese, North Koreans could have their hand in it. Anybody could have their hands in it. But they all know how to take out our country. I'm not giving them any information, but let's talk about a few things that I've talked to some people in the fields of these industries, and it's concerning to me. When I was in Iraq, this was at the start of the invasion, I told somebody, I said, you see these big power lines? They're going to hit those next, because we had taken over the area. When you take over an area, the locals or the civilians look at you, if you're in charge, to make sure you maintain their infrastructure that they have. Now, in that process, infrastructure is blowing up. They're also looking at you to fix it. And you have to fix it. If you're going to stay in an area, unless you're going to roll in, destroy the enemy of your choice, and then keep rolling out, you don't have to do that. But we go in, we blow you up, and then we fix you better than you were. So there's these huge transmission towers, power. And exactly a week before I told them, I said, they're going to hit these things. And guess what? Boom, boom, boom. They started taking down towers. And it was devastating for us, because then we had to switch over from doing, IED patrols to making sure we had guys patrolling all of the high transmission tower lines. And that was costly. It took huge amount of manpower to do that. So the enemy was smart. And that's what I would have done. And then I also said, I told somebody, they're going to start taking out these bridges, because there were some bridges where you could cross, and if you didn't have that bridge, it was like 18, 19 miles. You'd have to go down and get on another bridge and cross, and then come back that 18 or 19 miles. So if I was a bad guy, I'd take out that bridge. That keeps the U.S. military from moving around, freedom of movement. And then you'll have to station guys on both sides, or if you have it on one side and you do an attack, then they have to go around, or they have to send some type of air asset or some type of guys on helicopters that can get in there quickly. But the enemy is smart. The enemy hates the United States. That's a given thing. So I'm worried that as we progress down this, either a false flag or an attack from an outside force that will not get blamed for it, or could hide it, or could deceive the real person that caused it. And I'm going to deal with a few things. The electrical power grid is already on its last legs. That's because we haven't expanded it. We haven't put money into it. The infrastructure's not there. We haven't replaced parts that need to be replaced. And right now, it is critical. It is beyond critical. I've talked to lots of guys in the businesses, from linemen and line women. Talked to one of those line women, all the way up to people in charge of small electrical co-ops. And they're telling me the same thing. An attack against the power grid could be devastating to this country. It would not take a lot of people. It would take a few sleeper cells in the United States. It could take a few individuals. If you add in 30, 50, 100 guys, it would be devastating to the system. 100 guys would take the system down. The United States would collapse, literally collapse, without the power grid. Because with the power grid, we have all the communications that keeps everything running. We have banking. We have everything is done on the internet. Everything is done through electricity. So I'm concerned about this. I think it's a real threat to our country. We haven't addressed it. There's power stations that I know around here that, none of them have a guard on them. There's some simple things. I won't go into that. A lot of things Uncle Sam showed me and I've learned in the past. Very easy to take out these transformers. Would not cost much. There's probably, you could go to Walmart and get everything you need to take down the power grid at Walmart, literally. Add a few hardware stores in there, there's nothing stopping a group of people from taking it down. Now, I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying you should do it. I am saying it's a possibility. It is a threat against the United States that we are not addressing at all. There's no manpower to address this threat. There's so many transformers, so many substations throughout the United States. If someone knew what they were doing and could get hired on into positions in power companies, which they probably have, it'd be devastating. The grid would go down. I don't know what he would do if the whole grid went down with nuclear power plants. I'm not an expert in that field, but it could also, we might have to consider that. What would happen if the grid itself went down? Could we shut these nuclear power plants off safely? I don't know, but it is a concern. Let's look at communications. You know, you got AT&T, you got all these other companies out there that have buildings, and they are sort of hardened. They're hardened buildings, but there's nothing stopping, you know, a dedicated team of destroying some major communication hubs. It's very possible. That would cripple the United States. Let's throw in railroads. Right now, one trucker that delivers stuff, that's all I'm going to say, he says they're critically short. He hauls stuff for them to repair tracks. So if we're critically short now, and we had some major sabotage on rail services, and I'm thinking like bridges. I've noticed, I know where a few wooden bridges are still. They're really cool. They wouldn't take much to topple them out. And I'm not advocating toppling them out, so please don't say, Dave, no, I'm not. I'm giving you a threat assessment of what I'm seeing. So if you took out rail, that'd be devastating. A lot of stuff moves by rail. I mean, the United States would slow down to a crawl if the rail system. If you did that, you'd have to employ many people to guard the actual rail tracks. You'd have to inspect every mile of rail if there was some sabotaging events. There could be sabotaging events that would be triggered by the actual locomotive running over the track. So right there, with just a few incidents, rail would stop. We'd have to spend tons of money, tons of manpower to physically go out and inspect all the trains, to inspect all the tracks, every bridge. That's devastating to our country. I mean, it would cripple it. And I'm not talking about you'd have to do a lot. Just that threat of being there would cause us to, now we'd be guarding transmission lines, all the substations, and now we'd have to spend a lot of resources on rail tracks. Unbelievable. We'd have to look at all of our major communication hubs, all of our little buildings around the United States. I don't have all the knowledge to do this, but I know there's bad people in the world that can actually get hired on probably by some of these companies. Companies are so short. It'd be no problem for bad guys to actually get hired on and be inside the system to bring it down. And we're not talking a huge amount of money. We're not even talking stealth technology. We're talking crude ways of taking America down. I don't think this is being addressed. If it happens, then maybe it'll be like, oh, we got to do something. By that time, it's over for us. If they initiated an attack against communication, the electrical power grid, rail, there's no way we could fix it. There's no way we could come back. The United States would be down for the count for a very long time. And without the manufacturing base to get the things we need, the electrical grid would be destroyed. So I'm not trying to depress you. I'm just kind of saying that is why I prep. You know, you can say you prep just for hurricanes. You can prep for an EMP. Putting this on the list for prepping, this would be a wise thing to prep for. If shipping stops in this country, there's no food in the stores. And that's why we're preppers. That's why we hedge our bet by prepping against every threat possible. Because we like to drink clean water. We like to eat food, and we like to have supplies. We like to have toilet paper. So that's why we prep, to put it back. So we have enough stuff to get us through the turmoil, or we have enough stuff and we have enough skills and we have the ability to resupply ourselves by right here, or resupply ourselves because we're part of a community. So, not trying to scare you, there's lots of threats out there. It doesn't have to be a nuclear war. It doesn't have to be a war with China. It could be simple things to take us down, because that's how fragile we are. We think it's we're the Americans, we're the USA, we're huge, we're strong. We're not. We haven't put our money into the infrastructure. We haven't put our money into closing our border off. Our border's wide open. They could already be here. Many countries could be here that want to take us down. Sleeper cells are already here, just waiting for the order. I don't want to be negative, but let's face the threat and keep prepping. There's not much I can do with our government to try to steer them into stopping the border, the people coming across the border illegally and having some way to check who they're coming. I mean, even that would be better, just knowing who comes in and having them checked and knowing where they are. But we don't even have that. Keep prepping. Keep praying. Thanks for watching.